All right, well, welcome back to Exhaust Sports Auto. My name is Kevin, and I am here to pretty much do a versus battle between my 2020 LC 500 versus the 2020 LS 500, which I just reviewed. And now, who do I have to thank for the opportunity of reviewing the LS 500? It is Johnson Lexus in Durham, North Carolina. So you can speak to Danny if you're interested in purchasing a car from this dealership, because that's where I bought this LC from. So why am I comparing the LC to the LS? Well, there's some people making strange comparisons and asking me some strange questions like, oh, how does the LC compare to the ES and all that? Like some guy who's trying to buy an ES or an LC is confused between the two. I'm like, all right, not sure what to really tell you there, but I will compare the LC to the LS because if you didn't know already, both vehicles actually share the exact same platform, like the GAL platform, the flagship luxury platform that Lexus uses. So I'm here to mainly do a comparison with that car. I'm not going to drive the LS 500 again because I just did it. It's a dealership car and I don't want to put too many miles on their vehicle. So there is that. So I'm just going to be doing it in my car. So we're going to see what's what. Now, first thing that's different, of course, is the sound, but we'll get to the sound in a bit. The looks, right? One's a coupe, one's a four-door. So there are some baller people out there who are either interested in a four-door or a coupe. Well, here's the thing. The LC, just be prepared. If you are actually comparing the two cars, LC is far more of a useless vehicle. You know, you can't put anything in here. The back seats are useless. The trunk is abysmal. So there's not really a whole lot you can do with this vehicle practicality wise. If you need the practicality, no brainer, get the LS 500, no problem. But assuming you don't care about practicality, you just want to know what the core differences are, because they are both the same platform. You know, how do they feel? Honestly, so the LC 500, despite it being the exact same platform, this car is known for being stiffer than the LFA, the chassis, right? And Lexus claims that the LS 500 is the best handling LS out there. So it's an impressive handling car, no doubt about it. It probably actually is the best handling. It's a very good car. I just drove it. But the LC 500 is stiffer still, in my opinion. And of course, this motor is different as well. You know, this is a 5-liter V8 versus that little 3.5-liter V6 motor that you get in the LS 500, which has a phenomenal amount of thrust, but obviously nowhere near the same amount of sound, nor do you probably want sound like that in a vehicle like the LS 500, you know what I'm saying? So it's sad that they got rid of the 4.6 liter V8 because I really like that engine in the LS 460s, but I can't deny it. The 3.5 liter twin turbo is a superior engine than the 4.6 liter, but this 5 liter, obviously, this is a far more charismatic. It's a lot louder. I don't know if it's actually faster than the LS 500. Like, I feel like they're both about the same, to be honest. LS 500 will easily get the jump off the LC 500 because there's really nothing from 0 to 3,500 RPM there. So you do have to get it past that 4,000 RPM to really, go insane with the LC and really get the most amount of thrust. But you will be satisfied driving both of them. But the LS obviously doesn't have like this quite the same pinned down, planted, connected feel that the LC has. This is a sports coupe, whereas that is a flagship luxury sedan. So the differences are apparent. They both utilize the exact same 10-speed automatic. However, it's far more quicker and crispier in here. You know, the typical, sporty things you would expect that the LC would have, it's all here. Braking performance, in everyday driving, they both have like a similar kind of pedal feel. However, once you really get on the pedal, that's always fun to do. But anyway, yeah, when you really get on the brake pedal, it's evident that the LC has a superior, braking performance, again, as you would expect. And also, this thing weighs about 4,300 pounds, whereas the LS 500 I just drove, it was a rear-wheel drive. It was one of the pretty much the lightest LS that you can drive. It was about 4,700 pounds. So I've driven the LS 500H, and so there you go. I mean, the weight difference is there, but and yes, it does handle better, but that's not really the only reason why. But anyway, yes, the LS 500 was about 4,700 pounds. I've driven the LS 500H, which I was not a big fan of, and that was well over 5,000 pounds with the all-wheel drive and all that good stuff. But the weight isn't what makes the LC a superior driving vehicle. It's obviously, everything is tuned far differently, like the suspension and all that stuff, the steering, the weight of it. It has a more pinned down, planted feel. The LS's, both of them that I've driven, they've had the air suspension. So there's a bit of a disconnect. It's yes, it provides a superior ride quality. However, you don't feel as connected to the LS, and nor do you need to be. That's not why you buy that thing. You buy it to be, you know, like a pimp, like you just kind of float around on the road. It's got that whole sensation. However, you might be wondering, so the LC must ride way worse. It actually doesn't. So I would have loved to try an LS with just the regular suspension, because this is riding great, actually. Obviously, this is a 2020. They made changes from 2019 and up to have a better ride quality, and the 2021 LC rides even better than this. So ride quality is not an issue you're going to be having. Yes, the ES and the LS are still going to be a bit softer riding. You would expect that, but you will not be offended by this ride quality. Now, which one's quieter? Honestly, they're both about equal, because one has more wind noise, whereas the other one has more road noise. So the LC, I think, has a slight bit more tire noise coming through, but the LS kind of has like this strange kind of wind noise, this constant wind noise coming through from like the rear end of the vehicle. It's kind of strange. It's always a constant wind noise, and when you get up to the highway speeds, it becomes even more prominent. So I don't know what's up with that. That's really the only refinement thing that they could work on with the LS. Just fix that up and you'll be good to go. Also, I've noticed the LS has double pane glass, whereas this has a very thick type of glass, but it's not double paned. Steering in this is it's a little bit heavier, and it's a lot sharper than it is in the LS. Also, this one is way more charismatic, dude. Like, this car is special because it has like old school charm because of that V8. Even though it's in the new age with like all this digitalization, all that crap, this LC just feels old school. It has an old heart, but also everything about it driving wise, it has like a more old school feel to it, and I really like that, but in a good way. The LS is just a, you know, big traditional, you know, luxury car, similar to like a Mercedes S-Class, if you will, but, you know, nice sharp turn-in, of course. Yeah, you know, that's the magic of the LC, baby. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I've driven cars way faster than this, but I don't want those vehicles. You know, I'll have some of my subscribers testify. You know, one person, he just came out of a Hellcat and just bought a brand new 2020 yellow LC 500, loves it. Some other people, they bought some white LC 500s with a black interior and the red interior. They love it, dude. So, you know, if you guys are watching, please do comment down below. LC is definitely a magical creature for sure. It's nothing like the other vehicles in the class, let me tell you that much. And yes, it feels completely different than the LS 500 to drive. It's just a more connected feel, and you're not going to get that with the LS. But the LS is a tad bit more comfortable, I would say, with the air suspension. LS 500, the twin turbo V6, is superior to the LS 500H for sure. Refinement-wise, speed-wise, everything-wise. Now the LC, you know, there's some, aside from the practicality things, this thing is a lot more difficult to get in and out of than an LS. You know, you can just slide your tush inside the LS and it's just very easy to kind of slide in and out of. So I do like that. They're not entirely low slung, I'll talk about that in a bit, but like this car, obviously the seating position is far lower. So the LS, if you like that feeling where you're kind of sitting on top of the car, the LS is going to provide that to you. The LC is just more of a planted, more of a sports car type of seating position. It's a perfect seating position in both cars, but it's just different because they have, you know, different purposes that they're trying to fulfill. So it's not really two cars that compete with each other, but they are both the Lexus flagship vehicles. Now, I was briefly talking to you about the ground clearance of both these cars. If you look at the LS 500, I forgot to mention this in the review, it's not that low slung. The LS and the LC, they're not super low slung, but definitely look at the LS 500. Like the way that's kind of sitting up high, like, yeah, it's got the big 20s on it and stuff like that, but like honestly, it's a very practical car. You're never going to like kind of scrape the LS 500, nor will you scrape the LC 500. I've never scraped the LC 500 before in my life, so that's something to note there. These cars, they have like over 5 inches of ground clearance, so that's about the same as like a mid-sized car, and that's the exact same thing with the LC 500. Like, it looks super low down coupe, but like it's really not. It's got over 5 inches of ground clearance. It's not like the Corvettes and stuff. This really has a great amount of clearance, and I've never had to scrape it. So there is that. That's with both vehicles. But like I said, it is more difficult to get in and out of the LC than it is the LS. So that's some of the driving aspects there. So yes, they do drive completely different. I do like driving both of the cars. The LS 500 has come a long way. It has a similar feel to the S-Class does. Actually, more emotion to it when driving. You actually feel something when you drive it. I feel like the thrust is about the same as the LC and the LS, but obviously there's more theater, more sound, all that stuff. So if you enjoy that, obviously, this is one of the best sounding cars ever made. So enjoy that. But they are both totally different flagships. I'm so happy both of them exist. The LS is like the perfect complement to the LC in a garage. Like, they're just both like polar opposites despite being on the same platform. So there's not too much roll with the LS, but there is still some because it's a big heavy car. But it does drive better than you expect. It handles better than an S-Class does for sure. And the LC, of course, handles even better than the LS, obviously. Also, you're probably going to get about the same MPGs as well, because if you thrash both vehicles, I get about 14 MPG thrashing on my LC, probably get about 17 if you thrash the LS, so there's that. The interiors are actually totally different as well, so it depends on which interior you actually like more. I would probably say the LS has a better interior than this car, but something about this, it feels very special. Obviously, this color, the spec that I have here, like this baseball glove leather interior, it's pretty much bespoke to the LC 500, and this color, the materials, all that stuff, it's different from the LS. They're both at the top of their game, dude. Both of them, man, they feel like a $250,000 interior space. I feel more special driving both the LS and the LC than I do sitting in the Rolls-Royce Ghost and the Wraiths that I've been in. So this is very impressive. The build quality is second to none. I've seen the Takumis build these vehicles in the factories. It is just, it's inspiring to see their work ethic and just the attention to detail that they put in here. LS has a few features like the 360 cameras and all that good stuff. This has the same infotainment. Climate control is similar. Both vehicles are stupid in the way that they buried the heated and cooled seats inside the screen. I filled out a Lexus survey for my car when I bought it, and I said change that for the next one. So actually, I think they did with the LS, like the new refreshed LS, so that's something to note there. You can get an LS F Sport. I haven't driven that one yet, but the tachometer, I think, will be the same if you get that vehicle as the LC. So it's the one that moves around and all that stuff, so, and it changes with the sport mode. Again, infotainment is the same, gear lever is the same. The Mark Levinson, so the LS 500 gets the 23 speaker, whereas this gets the 13 speaker. Both sound amazing. I love both. That's not remotely an issue. Paddle shifters are different. Also, the steering wheel is different. There's no wood or any of that crap in here. It's all leather finished in here or suede. So that's a thing. A difference in material. So I like both. I appreciate both for different reasons. These paddle shifters are magnesium and they are different from the ones you get in the LS, but I do like both. I do prefer these more. Obviously, the rear seats is completely useless. The trunk is far more useless compared to an LS. So choose whichever one you want. I mean, do you value the practicality more, or do you enjoy the experience more? This is an experience. This is, take it from me, the best car I've ever driven, the LC 500. I'm not even kidding you. I've driven the C8s, I've driven all the M cars, the AMGs, all this crap, Jags, everything. This is the best one for me. So if you want a driving experience, you really give a shit about driving, the LC is for you. If you just want to be comfy and comfortable, LS is great. You can fit more people, you can fit more things back there. It's just the more practical choice, and it's the cheaper choice. Honestly, the LS 500 is a bargain for what you're getting. That interior, the whole package, the whole 9 yards, the big swaggy looks with the 20-inch Vapor wheels. It's pretty sick. I'm actually parked next to an LS 500, a white one, the F Sport with LC 500 wheels on it. It's pretty sick. I love it. So I'll show you some pictures of that. But that pretty much does it for this review. Let me know your thoughts down below. If you're interested in purchasing a Lexus product, you may come to Johnson Lexus of Durham. Please do appreciate them for letting us check out the 2020 LS 500. That was a huge help from them, as well as the other Lexus products I've done here. So definitely check them out. If you're interested, hit up Danny. So thank you again for watching. Take care and goodbye.